Welcome to Still City Growth. I'm your host, Bill Ildenfritz. Each week, we'll explore the passions, expertise, and experiences of business owners and founders in the greater Pittsburgh area. Still City Growth is proudly sponsored by Murphy Business of Pittsburgh, committed to providing exceptional services to meet all your business needs. Let's dive in. I am super excited today to talk to this gentleman. Him and I have had many in-depth conversations. I am sure he'll drop some pure gems for you to listen today. He is an expert in financial advising and consulting. He is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and business owners simplify their finances and make strategic and confident financial decisions. He is also the founder and CEO of Transparent Financial Solutions. Craig Peterson, welcome to the show.
Phil, I'm excited to jump into this, and thank you for having me here.
Yes. I'm super excited. So, Craig, this is the first question we ask everybody. I've started this show. You ready for it?
Let's hear it.
What is the number one most important strategy for growing your business?
So that is a massive question that we can spend days on. But when I hear that question, what comes to mind is first and foremost getting indefinite clarity in terms of what you're looking to accomplish, getting crystal clear on your objectives or goals or what you want that business to look like or where you want it to go, and not just tomorrow, but 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So start to dream, and that's the fun part of that. But once you get very clear on that, and that's half the battle, but go find somebody that's already done it. That's, I don't think, talked about enough, in my opinion, where there's a good chance that you're not, reinventing the wheel. There's somebody that has done something to the same degree or something that may even be somewhat different industry, but similar process or business model altogether. And that could be a mentor, that could be groups, that could be a coach, whatever the case may be. That can help you in so many different ways, and the best way, in my opinion, to collapse time, because they've already made all the mistakes. They've already learned all the lessons and spent thousands of dollars that have had to teach them those lessons. And so if they can help you mitigate that exposure, you're already ahead of the game. And that's something that I truly believe in the financial world, is your number one best investment you can make is in yourself. Because you can always go make more money. You can always grow your business at certain times, but your skills and your mindset, that will go with you forever. No one can take that from you. Everything else can be taken to some degree. And so that will go with you forever. And you hear these funny, videos online and say, as a millionaire or billionaire, if you lost everything today, do you think you'll make it back? And all of them say yes. And 2 reasons why. Number 1, their skill sets. Number 2, their network. And so if you can continue to work on those areas, I think that will set you up and your business up into more of the tactical aspects, which I'm happy to get into. But more high level approach in terms of the best strategy to grow your business in general, in my opinion, is, again, being very crystal clear on what you're looking to achieve long term, and not getting tied down or distracted by the shiny object syndrome that all of us entrepreneurs run into one time or another, but being honed in on that specific goal, being consistent with that specific goal, and then going and finding somebody that can help guide you in that direction.
Yeah, Craig, honestly, first of all, they are amazing bullet points. Number 2, I totally agree. Tell me, maybe give me an example. Maybe a problem or something you went to one of your mentors about, and how did he help you? How did he cut that in half? How did he talk about his experience and maybe help you with one of your things you were trying to achieve?
Yeah, so something, I'll speak on my industry specifically in the financial planning world, the wealth management world, is, we're taught as we continue to get licensed and educate and continue to go through education, about being a financial planner, being a wealth manager, being a financial advisor, whatever you want to call yourselves, all the same stuff. But nobody teaches on the back end of being an actual business owner. That is a totally different world. And in my opinion, is you can't do both. There's somebody out there in the world that is operating as just more the operations manager or the CEO, if you will, and letting financial planners do what they're great at, or vice versa. If you want to be the financial planner, then bring in somebody that's going to operate the business and grow it. It really just depends on what you're looking to accomplish. But what he's really showed me, and I have a couple of mentors, Bill, but one that I'm thinking of specifically is on the business side, specifically in terms of, creating the proper systems in place, bringing the right people in place, understanding where your strengths are and your weaknesses, and don't work on your weaknesses. There are people that are way better than you in those areas that love doing what they do. For example, I hate paperwork. I hate doing service work, if you will. And that's not where my time is best spent. And there's somebody, and now they're on my team that loves doing that and is way more efficient at that. So why am I going to try to go and do more of that when that's not where my best time is spent? And so leaning into your what we call superpowers, I think is incredibly important. And at some point in time, if you're a startup or a couple of years in the business, you're going to have to wear a lot of hats, if not all the hats. But the sooner that you can essentially fire yourself and move on to the next role and replace yourself, that's going to help you start really growing your business, but scaling as well when we put systems in place, and it's a repeatable cycle.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And what's interesting is we'll talk a little bit about you personally here in a little bit in the show, but I will tell you my personal opinion. I find it fascinating. We met, I don't know, 5 years ago or so now, and you were doing one little part, and then I talked to you like a year later, and you started adding something else to your portfolio, and you started talking about these mentors. Hey, Bill, I have this mentor. I have this connection. And you did. In my opinion, you grew your company just by finding the right mentors or the right talent and put them around you. And I think that's fascinating. And I think when I look at you, that's why I want you on my show, because I'm like, you're a person that really sits down, looks at the goal, and try to really, really, really solve that problem. Like you said, hey, nobody's perfect, but what you are excellent at is find your weakness and find someone to fill that weakness for you so you can continue to grow your business. You've been amazing. I respect you so much, Craig.
I appreciate that. And I think something that is not talked about a lot, and a book that has changed my business and perspective in just life, in a couple of areas. So number one, Good to Great is an amazing book that any entrepreneur should listen to. And it talks about finding the right people, putting them on the bus, and then finding them in the right seats as well. Super critical concept there. But the one that I'm really thinking of is Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. That has shaped my whole world and changed my perspective. I've read it twice now, probably going to read it again here soon, in terms of how you approach not only your time, but how your energy flow goes. Where's your highest energy? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Is it at night? When you're doing tasks, do you have a high energy level? Do you have a low energy level? That's good indications. And in the book, I won't go into the mix, but something that he gets really detailed into is audit that. Audit yourself for the next couple of weeks. So every 15 or 30 minutes of anything you do throughout the day, throughout the weeks, how's your energy level? How's your focus level? And then you can start to examine and say, hey, my energy level is high on certain tasks or categories or this time of day, and then it's low in other areas. And now you can start shifting and shaping your perfect day, if you will, or what you're doing when you're doing it. And now you might identify gaps where you need to bring another team member in, whether they're already on your team or you need to go hire somebody else, because you might be hurting the business, if you will, or hurting yourself because you're just not aware that, hey, this is probably it's not working out. I got to find out a better solution to this.
Yeah. I will tell you what I use is put your aces in their places, of what I was kind of told always. You find those people and you put them in the right, as you said, right seat in the bus, aces in their places, and then makes your job so much easier. And I think that's a lot definitely easier.
And then more enjoyable too. Like that's the thing too. Like if we're gonna dedicate our whole life into this thing called business or entrepreneurship, number one, there's no balance whatsoever. It's seasons and you have to find integration. But if you're gonna dedicate your whole life, and it's hard, like people don't realize how hard actually entrepreneurship is and how much work it's gonna take. I think everybody right now, especially on the internet, glorifies what entrepreneur is, and everybody could be a business owner. That's just complete crap, in my opinion. I would have never got into it if I knew how hard it was. That's the honest truth. And so I was very blessed that I was naive when I got into this world. But you might as well enjoy it. And in order to enjoy it, you might as well create the business number one that you want out of life. And that's something that I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about and really truly get clear on. Going back to the beginning of the conversation, Bill. Number two is what do you want to do in the business? Like I have a buddy out in the Washington area who owns a construction company, and he loves doing the nitty gritty stuff. He owns the company, it does amazing, but he goes and finds other leadership that can run the business because that's exactly what he wants to do. Obviously, he'll still have a say in it, but he finds joy and fulfillment in some of the work that he does. And that's where he pretty much gave himself a certain job, and he loves it. So identifying in that way, I think is super important to understand. You know, I think that goes back to understanding yourself too, and getting clear on what you want out of life, and then designing the business to serve you to a certain degree.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I'm a business broker and I deal with businesses every single day. And it's interesting because the number one question I ask people is, why do you want to sell? And, it's a wide range. I mean, obviously, some of it's, hey, I'm 65 and I'm ready to retire. But some say they're tired of the rat race, kind of as you said. Some say, hey, you know what? I thought this was going to be simple, and it's not. And some say, you know what? I want to start a next chapter. I did this. I grew this company. I did it well. And now I'd like to turn it over to somebody else and maybe, start over again doing something else. So it's amazing. But the point I also make is it's interesting because there are a lot of people out there, and I'm always amazed by this, but there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that do realize I have weaknesses. Now I need to go find that person and put, there's a business I had recently, for sale, and the one of the persons said, you know what? I just hate managing people. I like doing the sales. I like doing that. I don't like managing the people. And somebody else in his partnership, loved doing that part. And they were very successful because they knew exactly. And that other person said, I hate sales. I wouldn't do sales. So you're really right. Is there anything else you would like to? I mean, you gave a great answer. Is there anything else you want to touch upon on this answer? Maybe we can go into in detail or something.
Yeah, I mean, let's get, and this is where like I am in my season of life in business, and I'm still very early on, but and still continuing to learn every single day. But I've identified areas that continue to identify areas of where I want to spend more time in and where I don't want to spend more time in. And so now we're in the cycle of bringing on more team members at that point in time to fill those roles that I'm currently filling right now. But I think that's something that people, at least because we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and we get into the nitty gritty of the business side too, not just their personal side, but understanding how the business is operating and talking about business goals overall, and getting very clear and really good and almost anal, if you will, in terms of creating systems and processes and having a system and and identifying a path for anything possible that goes on in the business. Because this is what I'm getting at, is because if you start to complete those systems and processes and have them identified and stored somewhere, whether it's virtually or on a piece of paper, number one, it's going to allow more clarity, and limit miscommunication then in your organization. But I think when we start talking about growth in the business, if you don't have the basic foundations in place, and that I would argue is one of the most basic and critical foundations of an organization, it's going to be really hard to scale. Because if you want to start turning on the knob and say, let's start bringing in more clients, and you don't have a repeatable process, well, it's going to be just pure chaos. And I've learned from my own experience, so I can attest to that. But also, what people don't think about or talk about is if you start having a hard time fulfilling whatever service or product that you're offering the client, and you can't come through with that, now that's starting to hurt your reputation or your brand, which is super important. And so you don't want to fall into that trap. So I think really identifying each and every bit of systems that go on at each and every step. Just think of the client journey is how I always picture it and talk to entrepreneurs about, and continue to work on that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the thing that people think, oh, it has to be so detailed. Well, think about your business growth, for example. It changes over a period of time. Your organization changes. So if you just have the skeletons, if you will, and just make sure all the skeletons are in place, you'll have a groundwork. And then, if you need to tweak it, which most likely will happen a couple of years down the road, now you don't have to go redo all of these processors or SOPs, for example, and rewrite all of them. You have the skeleton. We're going to tweak this. We're going to tweak this. Okay, we don't do this part of the process anymore, but we add in this process. It makes everybody's life so much easier, but they're understanding the rhythm and the flow of that client journey or that product journey, whatever the case may be. That really, when I've seen that for myself and other entrepreneurs, that makes everybody's life easier. That makes identifying issues very easy then within the process. And now you can start to really scale that business in a doable and manageable way.
Yeah, that's excellent. Let's finish up this one section with this, Craig. If I just said because you gave a lot of really fantastic information. If you were trying to tell me, if you're trying to mentor me, say of all the things you just told me, what are the top 2 things? What are the top 2 things that I should start working on tomorrow out of what you just told me? All these great gems you just gave me.
Well, if I'm mentoring you, Bill, I'll be questioning a couple other things because you're a wealth of knowledge. But 2 things, like I said, I think every day, at least entrepreneurs every day that I run into say, why did you start your business? What are you doing it for? And 8 out of 10 times, maybe 7 out of 10 times is, to have financial freedom or for my family or whatever the case is. But then you go and look at their schedules. Well, it's very contradicting. And again, there's seasons of that part, but I think getting very clear on what your ideal life looks like, not business, but life. And this is where I think there's a flip flop. And how can you create or recreate your business in order to serve you in your life and your family rather than your business owning you? That's why we all got into it. But typically, we've just created ourselves a high-paying job, for example. Those who do it well have created an organization and have created a life that they desire. But I think that is something that I always push on, is getting really clear on what they want out of life and what they want their business to serve them, how they want their business to serve them. Because at the end of the day, that's what our business should be doing. We want to serve others. We want to create a tremendous amount of value for any of our customers. And I'm service-minded by no standard, but I do believe that our business is there to serve us, and having those conversations are super important. So I would say that's number 1 is identifying what that life looks like, what that business looks like, and then finding somebody that's already done it. I can't stress that enough of how many mistakes I've been saved, how many thousands of dollars I've saved, just because I have found individuals that have already done what I'm looking to do and learning from them.
Yeah, excellent. So with all that said, I know you told me about mentors and stuff, but as you know, people in the audience here is other like-minded business owners. So let me ask you this question. Is there one challenge that our listener community could help you solve? Is there something maybe you're looking for to solve yourself right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm looking right now, going back to my world specifically, is I'm looking to get into more of the operation or the business owner aspect than the financial planner aspect. I love what I do on the financial planning side, but I realize if I want to create the business that I know I want to create, I have to pick and choose which one. And so what I'm looking to do is um, push myself towards that way and start bringing in essentially another advisor. And so if there's any advisors out there and or anyone that knows of any planners that are looking for, a change or wanting to hear more about what we do, our philosophy, what we focus in on, um, that is something that is a big stretch and a big goal for ourselves this year. So we can make that transition in a good, healthy way, if you will.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Well, hopefully one of our listeners will reach out to me or you, and we'll give them contact information at the end, and hopefully somebody will reach out to you for sure. So, Craig, obviously the first half we kind of learned from you. The second half of the show, I'd like to learn more about you. So take me back in time to little Craig. Did you know you'd be running and growing a company? You kind of answered this a little bit, but did you know you'd be running a company back when?
Absolutely not. I thought you would be crazy, or I would think you would be crazy if you told me that, 5, 10 years ago, even. Um, so I'm originally from Chicago, and I thought I was going to be an engineer my whole life. I grew up with an older brother and sister. My brother's an engineer still to this day. And I did pretty much anything that he did. And, one thing led to the other, went to school for engineering, thought that was, hey, that's a great role. That's a great career. And everybody was telling me, you're doing a good job. You're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. And quickly after college and getting into the industry for a couple of years, I quickly realized that that was not for me. I joke around, relatively early on in my career, I had a midlife crisis. And I realized something, Bill, that I realized that, and this was a hard pill to swallow, to be candid with you, is I realized I never started thinking for myself until that moment. Is I just let people kind of push me towards what I was good at or what would work out for me and what was the ideal path of life. But I never stopped to think until that moment. Well, what does Craig want? What does Craig want to do? And I realized it was not engineering. I realized I loved talking to people. I wanted to have a bigger impact on individuals' lives. Um, and to be fully transparent with you, I hated the industry so much and what I was exposed to that I just wanted out. I was going through different careers or job opportunities, and one thing led to the other. I said, let's give this a try. I can always go back, and I'm very grateful for myself to be able to say, hey, you're going to give this at least a year and a half, because I understood that I was going into a whole new industry. I understood that I had to give it some time to see if this was for me or not, and haven't looked back since.
Yeah. I found really interesting about this. You said it took you a while to learn what you wanted to do, but now that you did, you seem much happier, which is intriguing because the reason why the number one goal you said to grow your business is almost the same exact thing. Learn what you want, learn about your balance, see what you want, be in the right seat of the bus
Mm-hmm.
and get others to help you. It's kind of like, now I see why maybe that's the number one reason you think is growth, because it helped you, and look at where you're at now because you discovered that about yourself. That's incredible.
Yeah, and some may disagree or say that there's a more important area to focus on first. So be it.
Yeah.
It's all up to opinion at that point. But yeah, that definitely shifted my whole life. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
and I'm very very grateful that I it was a light bulb moment that early on in my career and life, rather than being 60, 70 years old and finally realizing that. Which I do know is something that does happen.
Yeah. No, it's excellent. So here, let's bring us down today. Tell me a little bit about what do you do? How do you help your clients? Talk a little bit about yourself for a minute here in your company.
Yeah, yeah. So What we do is we work with entrepreneurs and help entrepreneurs who make 250 grand or more of income, um, to help them pay less in taxes, make confident financial decisions, and do more of what they love. And so what that truly looks like is we take a comprehensive approach when it comes to financial planning for the business side and the personal side. Typically, it's both, as we're integrated with these entrepreneurs or partners, and we look at, number one, what are you looking to accomplish, whether it's on the business side or the personal side, and we try to reverse engineer what makes sense. What areas do we need to pay attention to? Uh, the areas, the four core areas or four core pillars, as we call it, are going to be in taxes, investments, protection, and legal. And so, a great example of this is we are working with a chiropractor practice out on the East Coast, and she's getting ready to sell her business within the next year and a half. And a couple things happen. Number one, we're looking at strategies to help become more profitable for a larger exit. But number two, we're looking at, they have a large estate issue right now. And, if they were to do no planning right now, they would have to pay about $2 million in taxes to the government. God forbid something happened to them. And now we've wiped that out altogether for their estate and have built in a plan to accommodate for the sale, which will increase their overall estate. So we like to bring two things to the table, just to wrap up here, Bill. Number one, we want to bring education. We want to actually continue to educate existing clients, new clients, and make sure that there's transparency and they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. I think there's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding in our world, and that's partly why we named our company the name that we have. And then number two is bringing creativity to the financial world. A lot of times it's black and white, boring, very plain vanilla, and a lot of people actually, we found that they just have a couple of investments or products in place and they call it a financial plan. And we believe it goes much beyond the numbers. And that comes into the creative side, and looking at bringing in, strategic partners when it makes sense to execute on great ideas. And that's what we lead with, is ultimately how can we make X happen with great ideas versus putting something in place that's only going to line somebody's pockets and that's it.
Yeah, it's excellent. I know me and you. I mean, I'll talk, well, personally for me. I mean, I've asked you a couple of questions. You actually, every time I see you, your eyes light up when I'm asking you. You love to educate. I mean, you love to. It seems like you love to educate. You like to help. You ask some really good questions for me to think. I mean, sometimes I thought I had a plan, and then you stumped me. But it's a great question you asked to really help me. Hey, do you think about this? And my business and my personal life. So I personally always loved your education, and it always seems that you get really excited when you answer those questions. So I agree with everything you just said for sure. Very good, very good. So let me ask you this question. I actually sometimes ask and sometimes I don't, but I'm going to be intrigued with this question. If you can go back in time and meet yourself the day you founded the company, what advice would you give yourself? Because you've given some interesting comments. So I'm actually excited to hear this. What would you give yourself the day you founded your company? What advice?
Yeah, that's an interesting question for sure. I would tell myself, you're going to have to work 10 times harder than you ever expected, and to continue to show up on a consistent basis every single day, regardless of how you're feeling, regardless of what's going on in life, because consistency compounded over a period of time is what truly is going to make you win. Same thing in the investing world, where you just be consistent with investing and all of a sudden the compounding effect takes into effect. Same thing with anything you really do, whether it's business, your fitness, your health, whatever the case is, relationships. You got to continue to show up day in and day out. Continue to have faith in yourself. I'm a man of faith as well, and so that's been super important on my journey. But I get ready to mature very quickly as well. Is how I'd wrap up that conversation.
Yeah, excellent word. Well, I know you did talk about balance. Let's ask you, in your personal life, in your free time, what do you do for fun? What vacations do you take? Where do you go? What do you do? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time with my fiance Lindsay and our two furry kids, Lionel and Tink.
Hmm.
Um, we absolutely love them, and we try to spend a lot of time together because she's just as busy as I am. And so we try to actually be very aware and present when we are together. But we like to relax, to be honest with you. I'm a big fitness enthusiast. I like to run quite a bit, and I think that's very important for my mental sake as well. Finding those outlets, so that's extremely important to me. And then we do travel here and there. We are a part of a couple of different business groups, so we get to be able to go out with them and meet with them across the country in different areas. Um, and like I said, just enjoy our time together and create experiences while we build.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Where has your favorite vacation spot been so far? Do you have one, or say in the future, what do you really want to go? Where would you like to travel to if you had to pick one?
Yeah. So a couple years ago, probably one of my favorites so far, we went to Laguna Beach. I've never been to Southern California until then, and that was absolutely breathtaking. I understand why people want to stay in California, even if they have to pay a ton of taxes. Um, and then we were recently, last year, we were in St. George, Utah for the first time, and that's absolutely gorgeous. That Zion National Park out there. And so the pictures don't do it justice whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah, excellent, excellent. So, Greg, how can we connect with you? If there are somebody who wants to reach out to learn more about financial planning or possibly be a financial advisor, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, the best way is really two ways. You can email us at info@transparent, F is in Frank, S is in Sam.com, or you can check us out on our website, www.transparentfs.com. If you want to reach me directly, I'm pretty active on social media, specifically LinkedIn. And so you can just type in, Craig Peterson, Pittsburgh, and find me there. I believe my username is cpeterson20 or something like that.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, Craig, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I had a great half an hour with you, talking about you, learning from you. As I told the audience at the beginning, I knew there's some amazing moments in this because you are incredibly gifted, great educator, for me, so passionate about what you do, which is very important to me. That's why I connect with you. So I really, really appreciate you being on this show for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm very grateful to have you have me on here, and I enjoyed our time together for sure, Bill.
And then, of course, I want to thank our audience. If you learned something today, want to connect with Craig or laughed, please tell somebody about our podcast. Again, Craig, thanks very much for being on our show. And this has been another exciting episode of Still City Growth. See you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Still City Growth. Thanks for joining us. For show notes and more, visit stillcitygrowth.live. Still City Growth is proudly sponsored by Murphy Business of Pittsburgh, offering expert guidance in buying, selling, and valuing businesses to help you achieve your goals. Until next time.